What's going on, guys? It is Wednesday, and if it is Wednesday, it is time for Story Time with Taffy, episode number 13. I think this is the evil one. The one that if it was a floor on a hotel elevator, they'd skip it and it would go straight from 12 to 14, but we're not pansies, so we're not going to worry about it. Robert and I have spent the last couple of days poring over scores of PA submissions from our subs for the 10K giveaway. We have chosen a winner. We have edited the winner. It is sexy, set to E-double. And we're not going to tell you which one it is. We're going to let who won, when it is going to be released, what it looks like, who's on the roster, whether or not it made it onto Respawn, all be a huge surprise. So, sorry, that's kind of a dick move, and it's kind of masochistic in a way, but ultimately, we just think that the heightened suspense just brings a little something extra to it. Also, speaking of people who may or may not end up on Respawn, Nogla, one of our core guys, has got a little bit of a ninja defuse montage. If you haven't checked out his channel, you most certainly should. Guy busts his ass to get video footage and is learning how to edit at a crazy rate. He has put together a video that we are going to try to submit to Respawn and maybe branch ourselves out a little bit. So if you haven't checked out Nogla's channel, give that a look, and we'll let you know as we know whether or not the Ninja Diffuse montage that he edited together has ended up on the Big M. Episode number 13, we have a couple of different questions that come from different guys, but are roughly the same thing. Dusty594 and Crimson Tide 0077 both want kind of a drunken hangover story, and since I just battled my way through the kind of hangover that only happens once in a generation this week, I thought it strangely fitting. So I'm going to go ahead and tell another story about Simon, and if you don't know about Simon, you will reach into the Wayback Machine and find a story about a really embarrassing incident when I first got to college where Simon kind of screwed me over. He was my best friend for about a decade. This time he actually saves my ass. This is why we became friends in the first place. Well, not the sole reason, but incidents like this is why he and I were kind of like blood brothers for the longest time. So I ended up at a house party. This is right after I got out of high school. I came back to visit the old family and spend some time away from school, and I had a couple of friends who said, come over to our apartment, we're having a party, let's get crunk. And I was just like, that sounds like a good time. So it rapidly devolved into one of those kinds of parties where everybody was hitting it entirely too hard, entirely too fast. I at one point went to the balcony of the third floor apartment and spewed my wonderful stomach contents all over the grassy lawn below. I came back in just in time to find a young man who took way too much vodka in, and it was really funny because he was sitting on the couch and his eyes were kind of rolled back in his head and everyone saw it coming, so we all just kind of backed up a step, and the guy who was throwing the party, we'll call him Jim starts to try to corral this kid, and he says, come on man, let's get you to the bathroom, let's get you to the bathroom. He stands him up, he starts to push him down the hallway, and as he's pushing him down the hallway, this guy who'd been drinking vodka and eating nothing but orange cheese puffs all night starts to spew vodka orange foam everywhere. It's like somebody has taken some sort of circus clown fire extinguisher full of like orange comedy foam and is just blasting it all over the walls and all over the floor and on the tile in the bathroom, and he gets to the toilet, and right as he gets to the toilet, the last little bit comes out, and so this nugget of orange vodka foam the size of a quarter falls into the toilet, but there's this solid trail like 6 inches tall and 6 inches thick that leads you back to where he was originally sitting. And I am not faring much better than anyone else, and I am under the age of 21 at this point, which if you don't realize is not of legal drinking age in the States. But my buddies are all 21, and they tried to take care of me when, inevitably, at a gigantic house party in the middle of a crowded apartment complex, the cops show up because of a noise complaint, and they show up to break it up. So my buddies, Jim and Simon, stuff me into a closet, and they throw a whole bunch of Jim's dirty clothes on top of me. And so I get kind of comfortable, and the cops are pouring through the apartment, checking IDs and going from room to room and doing what they do, and I just pass out. Like I'm comfortable, I'm warm, the clothes all smell kind of funky and vinegary because Jim's not way big into hygiene, and I wake up, and as I wake up I hear like shouting and anger and roar and screaming, and I was just like, well, that's weird. The door opens up to the closet and I feel somebody digging me out, and I look up and it's Jim with Simon right behind him, and Jim stands me up and he's like, Ryan, man, I can't believe this. Oh God. And he starts trouncing around. He's kind of puffed himself up like a peacock. And I said, dude, what's going on? He says, you know my girlfriend Sally? I said, yeah, I know Sally. What's up? He goes, some guy at the party tonight made out with her. I was like, what? That's fucking bullshit. Let's crush this guy. And so we start this sort of mutual, sort of chest beating, you know, alpha male, we're gonna shed some blood tonight, slapping each other on the chest, and he gets amped up and he finally turns and he charges towards the door and he rounds the corner and takes off. I was like, yeah, come on, Simon, let's go kick some ass. And right as I get to the door, I feel a snag at my collar. And I turn around and Simon is just shaking his head. He says, dude, do you not remember anything about tonight? And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he says, the guy who made out with Sally was you dick. And I said, what? Come on. No, it wasn't. What? Was it me? Did I? Oh, hell. Because Jim was a state champion wrestler. Jim had the kind of neck that if you put a leather belt around it to try to choke him, he would flex and his veins and his neck would pop the fucking thing off. And I have worked him into a murderous, bloodthirsty frenzy. So ultimately, Simon basically grabbed me and grabbed him, and I ran out the door. I was like, hey, maybe we should live and let live. I mean, after all, what would drunken Gandhi do? He would, you know, passive aggression. Jim? Because Sally was so terrified of what would happen if she actually revealed the name of the person that had kissed her. Let's put it this way. She kissed back, damn it. Apparently, because it's not like I'm not gonna like hold her down, so I have no fucking clue what happened that night. But that would be the night that Simon saved my life from Jim. I'm gonna throw in a little bonus clip here. You're gonna get to see a photo of what happens if you decide to drink with me. If you decide to drink with me, apparently you have to sign some sort of waiver, because I have the tolerance of like an Irish sailor. So my last night in Philadelphia, I ended up going out with a bunch of my restaurant friends, and they took me out to sort of our local dive hangout called Jim's Roast Beef down on 2nd Street. And one of the few things I remember about this night is that after I got there just became a never-ending flow of shots of Irish whiskey, which is what I was drinking at the time. And so every time I turned around, across this sea of hands would just float a shot of Jameson's or a shot of Bushmills. And so the next thing I knew was I was standing up in front of a microphone for karaoke singing Mambo Number 5. And by singing Mambo Number 5, I mean I was standing in front of a microphone going, a little bit of I don't know this song, a little bit of someone please come help me along. And eventually 3 or 4 friends got up there and sang, while I stumbled off stage and found this busser whose name was Derek, and apparently I hugged him for a while and played with his hair because black hair feels so cool, and just kept yelling, "You're my boy, Blue," over and over again until they shoved me into a cab to get me home. And after that, the rest of the night is just kind of Polaroid pictures. I remember not wanting my wife to see me as wrecked as I was, so I staggered into the apartment and end scene. And when I woke up in the morning, I was naked, I was wet, and I was in the bed by myself. And so I rolled out of bed and I almost stepped into a trash can, but the trash can didn't have any vomit in it, so I'm kind of confused about how things are going on. And I walk out there and my wife's sitting there and I said, "Baby, am I naked for fun reasons or for bad reasons?" And she said, "You're naked for bad reasons." And I said, "Well, shit, what happened?" And she said apparently she stepped out into the living room of the apartment when she heard some weird coughing noises and saw me laying on the couch and there was some vomit on the floor, and she said, "Well, at least you got it on the floor because it's hardwood." And then she rolled me over just to find out that I was sleeping in the other half of it. So she stood me up and marched me into the bathroom and said, "Take a shower while I clean this up." And apparently a couple minutes later I came back out with soaked boxers because I decided for whatever reason that I needed to shower with boxers on because leave room for the Holy Spirit. I don't know what I was thinking. So she managed to tackle me before I got back to the bed and jumped in wearing dripping soaking boxers and stripped them off, shoved me in, and set a little trash can next to it. And that's not a crazy remarkable story, except for the simple fact that the next morning when I woke up and went to the bathroom mirror, this is what my eyes looked like, and they stayed that way for a couple of weeks. So for a couple of weeks, I apparently had puked so hard that I burst blood vessels in my face, and I got to spend a couple of good solid days looking like I was infected by the rage virus. I have a handful of stories like this that I can probably just kind of ration out over the next year or so. That'll do it. Episode number 13, Storytime with Taffy, in the books. As always, head down to the comment section below. Give me feedback, questions, comments. Fill that sucker up with things that I might possibly speak about in weeks to come. And until next time, on behalf of the Mr. Woofles channel, I am Taffy, and I am out.